Chapter 21. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. You have the doubling technique. I have one heart and one body. The teacher who came here was a chubby middle-aged teacher. His dead fish eyes looked very unlikable and his face was very gloomy as he stared at Ling Feng. Students should help each other, not fight each other. You have such a bad character. I'd like to know what kind of teacher can teach a student like you. Tell me, who is your teacher? Hearing this, Ling Feng's heart was filled with bitterness. The teacher criticized him without distinguishing right from wrong. His tone was also somewhat disdainful as he said, "Are you blaming me after you understand the ins and outs of this matter?" However, the teacher didn't feel that he was wrong. He smiled faintly and continued, "Do I need to know the whole story? It's wrong of you to hit people. No matter what happens, you have to help each other. As for the reason, we'll discuss it after you receive the punishment you deserve. Come with me. Also, put him down. I'm standing right here, and you still dare to hit me. You're all the hope of mankind's future. The 3 high schools didn't bring you here to fight among yourselves but to improve yourselves, do you understand?" Everyone could naturally understand the meaning behind the teacher's words. It was simply too unreasonable, not to mention standing on the moral high ground. But this teacher was too biased towards Li Wu, wasn't he? Ling Feng looked at the middle-aged man and did not treat him as a teacher at all. He said indifferently, "You ask him why I hit him." At this moment, Li Wu's gaze also shifted to the teacher who had just arrived. When he realized that it was his second uncle, he was secretly delighted. He heaved a sigh of relief and pretended to be aggrieved. "I also want to know why you hit me." However, Li Wu's heart and his appearance were completely different. In his heart, Li Wu was sneering. "So what if you can beat me? I'll let you lose the opportunity in the spirit-sensing mystic realm. I'll see how you'll catch up to my combat strength in the future." At this time, Li Chu came back to his senses. How did Ling Feng beat him? He was just lucky, and his talent evolved to A. rank. But so what? I admit that you've transformed into an A. rank, and you're worthy of my respect. However, the teacher on duty in the spirit-sensing realm today was his second uncle. You hit me, I'll act pitiful and make you pay the price. What can you do? You can only grit your teeth and endure. I have my second uncle to back me up. What do you have? As long as my acting skills are good, I might be able to make you lose the chance to enter the spirit-sensing mystic realm." Looking at Li Wu's appearance, Ling Feng's heart also turned cold. He had also seen the situation in front of him clearly. These two people must know each other. At first, this was just Ling Feng's random thought. However, when he saw Li Wu and the teacher on duty exchange a look, everything was confirmed. The relationship between the two of them was not shallow, and the teacher on duty was deliberately making things difficult for him. Not bad. Ling Feng's fists clenched tighter and tighter. The teacher on duty saw this scene. He immediately rebuked, "How is it? Are you going to hit someone in front of me?" Hearing this, Ling Feng couldn't hold it in any longer and directly said, "He was the one who insulted me first. Otherwise, I wouldn't have hit him. Besides, according to you, do I have to be hit in front of you to prove that I'm right?" Ling Feng gritted his teeth and spat out his words clearly. Everyone who heard it was also extremely indignant. However, the middle-aged teacher didn't seem to mind at all. He waved his hand and said with a smile, "No, I only believe what I see. You made the first move, and I happened to see it, so it's your fault. Besides, why did he scold you? Have you ever thought about this? As the saying goes, you can't clap with one hand. So, in the end, the fault is still on you." Ling Feng couldn't help but laugh out loud. What kind of twisted logic was this? Looking at the middle-aged teacher's smiling expression, Ling Feng wanted to crush him to the ground. The rest of the people also began to discuss. As bystanders, they naturally understood the ins and outs of this matter. anyone would know that the fault wasn't on Ling Feng, but Li Wu. Something's not right. Why does the teacher's reason sound so mild? Of course, there were also some people with bad personalities who naturally stood on Li Wu's side. However, they were just a few people. I object. Teacher is right. If he doesn't have any problems, why would Li Wu scold him? Brat, is there something wrong with your brain? Do you mean that you're going to apologize to me and say that you're in the wrong after I scold you? The teacher on duty naturally heard what the other said. He also knew that he was in the wrong, but he didn't want to change. He shouted, "All of you, be quiet." Then, the teacher on duty looked at Ling Feng, pointed at him, and said, "Ling Feng, stop talking nonsense and come with me." Ling Feng had no intention of leaving with him. He just stood there silently, looking at the teacher on duty. The teacher felt a little embarrassed and showed an unhappy expression. "You're still so confident after making a mistake. You're simply asking for a beating." As he spoke, he stretched out his hand toward Ling Feng. Ling Feng subconsciously took a few steps back. The teacher on duty grabbed nothing. His eyes were filled with shock. He had never seen a student who could escape his grasp. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. You have doubling technique. I have one heart, one body, you still dare dodge. However, it was all in vain. Following that, a black light appeared on the teacher's palm. It was obvious that he had used all his strength. Although Ling Feng didn't know what it was, he was sure he used a skill. No matter what, he was still a teacher. If he wanted to use his body to dodge this attack, it would be completely impossible. Thus, he did not dare to be careless. 10 clones suddenly appeared in front of him and blocked the attack from the teacher on duty. They could feel the anger in Ling Feng's heart. The rest of the people also confirmed their thoughts. Ling Feng was indeed an A.rank talent and not a B.rank talent. Thinking up to this point, they all looked at Li Wu. The suspicion in their eyes made Li Wu very uncomfortable. However, when he thought of his second uncle helping him, Li Wu no longer cared about those gazes. "Anyway, I'll be able to vent my anger soon. What do you think about me?" Everyone sighed in their hearts. They wanted to stand up for Ling Feng, but they were too weak. They could only stand aside and watch silently as the teacher bullied the student. Whatever rules, whatever justice that had existed was now all out the window. Number 1 was followed by 4 clones, and they quickly ran behind the teacher. Number 2, on the other hand, led the 4 doppelgangers to deal with him, but did not use all his strength. Seeing this, the teacher also revealed a trace of ridicule in his eyes. Good, a student who has just awakened dares to attack a teacher. If you are allowed to continue developing, how bad will you become? Steel body. As he spoke, the teacher's body turned pitch black. When the sun shone on it, it reflected the light of steel. When everyone saw this, they looked at Ling Feng with sympathy. This is Teacher Li's B.rank talent, steel body. Ling Feng is finished this time. Teacher Li's combat strength had reached Tier 3. What a pity. The crowd sighed. Some even turned their heads away, as if they didn't want to see what was going to happen next. However, what happened next shocked everyone's senses. Number 2 did not care about Teacher Li's steel body at all. Instead, he continued to attack. Then, he seized the opportunity and quickly unleashed 5 energy slashes. It was aimed at Teacher Li's lower body. How could Teacher Li not care about his sexual happiness for the rest of her life? His hands quickly covered his gems. He couldn't come back to his senses for a while and didn't notice Number 1 and the 4 clones appearing from behind. The fan-shaped heart flame shot toward Teacher Li's back. The flame attached itself to Teacher Li's clothes and couldn't be extinguished. Because it had fused with the fire of the heart, a part of the flame seeped into the clothes and cast itself over the steel body, burning the teacher's soul. No matter how strong the defense of the steel body was, it could not stop the burning of the heart fire. Teacher Li turned pale with fright. The thing he was most afraid of had happened. The fire in his heart burned his soul, making his mind confused. Then, the intense pain jolted him back to his senses, and he immediately shouted. Arg! Ah! Teacher Li's body turned red in an instant. After escaping from the range of the heart flame, he finally recovered. His clothes were already in tatters. However, he didn't care. Instead, he looked at Ling Feng with bloodshot eyes. Then, his fists rapidly grew in size, and he hammered down on Ling Feng like a meteorite. Number 1 and the other 4 clones didn't have time to dodge and were dissipated by the punch. One had to know that all 5 of their clones had the strength of a beginner tier. 2. However, just one punch was enough to shatter them. From this, one could see how powerful this punch was. It also showed that Teacher Li was serious this time. Ling Feng was a little shocked, but his body did not hesitate at all. 5 clones appeared again, and number 1 led 4 of them into the battle. Teacher Li's eyes were bloodshot as he continued to use the same move that he had used to destroy the 5 clones. He swept, hammered, and hacked as if he had gone mad. Some of the avatars were unable to dodge in time and could only be shattered. And so, the 10 clones disappeared again. Teacher Li's face also showed a trace of joy. These annoying flies were finally killed. This stinky brat made him suffer such a big loss in front of so many people. He must learn from this. As a teacher on duty, he had used so many methods to deal with a third-year high school student who had just awakened. This was enough to make him lose face. At the thought of this, Teacher Li's expression turned into anger again as she walked toward Ling Feng. However, at this moment, Teacher Li's expression froze on her face, and her steps also stopped. Because, 10 identical Ling Fengs once again appeared in front of his eyes. How is Ling Feng's combat strength so strong? Could he be a tier. 2? It can't be. He doesn't have an A. rank talent. He evolved from a B. rank. If he really had a tier. 2 combat power, then his cultivation speed would be even faster than an S. rank. That's not all. Teacher Li's combat strength is at tier. 3, but Ling Feng can actually fight someone of a higher tier. He's a true genius. Even if Ling Feng is the one in the wrong, he won't be punished, right? That's right. Moreover, Ling Feng didn't do anything wrong. Then Li Wu is finished. Not only is Ling Feng's talent higher than his, but his combat power is also higher than his. The only one who is biased towards him is Teacher Li. The crowd chimed in one after another. The anger on Teacher Li's face became more and more intense. Good boy, since you've provoked me again and again, I'll fulfill your wish today. However, don't kneel and beg me if something unexpected happens. After he finished speaking, Teacher Li raised his arms and shouted, body doubling technique. Immediately, Teacher Li's steel-like body grew rapidly. In a short while, he became a giant more than 10 meters tall, about 10 times the size of his previous body. Fortunately, the hall was 100 meters tall, or it would have collapsed. The giant's body was huge, like a small mountain. Ling Feng, who was standing at his feet, suddenly felt short of breath. Teacher Li raised his giant foot and stomped toward Ling Feng's body. The power made him breathless. Not good. This is Teacher Li's ultimate skill. That's right. Even a tier 3A. Rank awakened might not be able to defeat Teacher Li in this state. Ling Feng, run. That's right. He's attacking your main body. He's clearly trying to take your life. Everyone gasped in shock. Ling Feng's expression was also extremely serious, but he didn't escape. At this point, if he escaped, it would only increase Teacher Li's fighting spirit. One body, one heart. Ling Feng silently muttered. The 10 clones instantly disappeared, turning into specks of light and gathering in the direction of Ling Feng's main body. The white light enveloped Ling Feng's body, and no one could see what was happening inside. They could only look over nervously. When the light dissipated, a huge figure appeared before everyone's eyes. Everyone's mouths were wide open in shock. That figure was simply too divine. This figure was sitting cross-legged on a stone throne, looking like a child. There were 7 buns on his head, and the whip hung down to his left shoulder. His left eye was slightly closed, and there was a trace of anger on his face. Flames were constantly coming out of his back. He held a chain of hellfire in his left hand and an intellectual sword in his right. The statue of Akalanatha. The intellectual sword can cut off 3,000 of your troubles. Once you enter hell, you will be bound by the chains of hellfire. As he spoke, he lifted the giant sword, and the chains continued to dance in the air. Chapter 23. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Stray Dog, transformation skill. After the fusion, Ling Feng could control his own form. No matter what it looked like, there was only one thing he couldn't think of, there was nothing he couldn't do. Perhaps to others, this scene might be difficult because they had yet to reach a certain level of control over it. Ling Feng's clone was an extension of his own body and had 100% control over it. Therefore, this step was as simple as eating and drinking to him. The 10-meter tall Buddha statue sat on a stone seat. It held a sword in its left hand and a chain in its right hand. Its face was solemn, and everyone was shocked when they saw it. This is too majestic. What kind of talent is this? Why is it so powerful? I've never heard of such a talent for clones. This should be a fusion skill. He fused his clone with himself, so I don't know how many times his strength has increased. I'm already looking forward to the battle between giants. But Teacher Li's combat power is at the 3rd stage. That Ling Feng should be at the 2nd stage at most. How can he be Teacher Li's opponent? You can't think of it that way. As an awakened A. rank who has just started training, it is already a genius level mission for Ling Feng to be able to fight with my teacher to this extent. Yeah, he's much stronger than some S.grade talents. Ling Feng's image in everyone's hearts continued to rise. Perhaps it could be said that everyone didn't take him seriously at the beginning, but now, it was different. He had fought with a Tier 3 teacher for so long with his Tier 2 combat power, and he wasn't at a disadvantage. They're fighting. One of them exclaimed, and everyone's eyes followed. Suddenly, the huge sword in Ling Feng's hand slashed down from the air. The chain was not idle either. Like a python, it kept slithering, as if looking for a suitable opportunity. Facing Teacher Li's attack, he stretched out his 2 hands and held on. Noel.n Teacher Li's attack had only caused Ling Feng's arm to tremble slightly. Seeing this, Teacher Li was also extremely shocked. How was this possible? One should know that even A. rank awakened of the same level would have to weigh their options before they could block his attack. However, this student had actually managed to block his attack. This meant that Ling Feng's transformed appearance wasn't any weaker than his. But how was this possible? Ling Feng was just a freshman. How could he have such powerful strength? Even Su Ranran, who was an SS. Rank awakened, was still stuck at Tier 1 and had not broken through to Tier 2. However, Ling Feng, who was an A. Rank metahuman, had broken through to Tier 2 first. Not only that, but he also had such an overpowered fusion skill. This was simply too shocking. This made Teacher Li even more determined in her heart. Ling Feng can't be left alive. He had already offended Ling Feng, who displayed such a powerful talent. If he let him go, then in the future, he would definitely become a genius when he grew up. The first person he wanted to kill would be him. Therefore, he had to kill him here. Teacher Li clenched his fists and ruthlessly smashed them towards Ling Feng, who did not show any weakness and swung the giant sword in his hand. The huge sword and the iron fist collided, producing a constant sound of friction, and even sparks. The iron chain on the side seemed to have a life of its own. It followed the giant sword in his hand and wrapped around Teacher Li's arms, but Teacher Li had no chance to dodge. Ah! Teacher Li tried to break free from the chains with all his might, but he realized that the chains were extremely hard. Ling Feng's strength was also very strong, even stronger than him by a few points. How could he have such great strength? The giant sword swung over again, wanting to attack the iron giant's eyes, but a hard iron palm blocked it, and a series of metal colliding sounds rang out. As expected, the defense of the steel body was amazing. It was only at this moment that Ling Feng clearly felt the horror of Teacher Li's defensive power. However, Ling Feng did not intend to hold back. In addition, the iron giant was already being held back, so the giant sword in his hand was constantly waving. Stop! Teacher Li suddenly shouted, but Ling Feng pretended not to hear him. The giant sword in his hand became even more unscrupulous, and he slashed towards the lower body of the steel giant. The giant didn't say anything else. Shocked, it quickly protected his treasure. Bang! Because of Ling Feng's all-out attack, in addition to the fact that the iron giant didn't have time to mobilize its defense when it blocked the sword, the bones in its wrist were directly broken. Ah! Teacher Li let out a heart-wrenching scream. However, Ling Feng was expressionless. The chain in his hand moved quickly and climbed up Teacher Li's neck along the ground, tightly wrapping around it. This Ling Feng is really ruthless. The chain is wrapped around Teacher Li's neck. It looks like he's holding onto a dog. One of the students said in a low voice. At this time, Teacher Li was constantly roaring, trying to break free, but found that the force was not in his heart. Suddenly, a thought appeared in his mind. Shrinking. Teacher Li's body continued to shrink. The chain did not have time to shrink, allowing Teacher Li to escape from it. He stood up, but she was a little embarrassed. He pointed at Ling Feng's nose and roared, "All right, you little brat, beating up a teacher in front of so many students. Very good. I have never seen such an arrogant student like you. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to expel you." At this moment, Ling Feng had also returned to his normal appearance. His body was constantly shrinking. Looking at Teacher Li's ridiculous appearance, he coldly said, "Fine. As a teacher, you are biased toward Li Wu and even used your trump card to attack an A. Rank awakened. I suspect that you are a spy from another race among the humans. Alright, you still want to slander me. Just you wait." After saying that, Teacher Li dragged her injured body and staggered away. Ling Feng stood there, looking at the slowly leaving Teacher Li in his heart. He had the urge to kill him, but he suppressed it. After all, this was a school, and he also had the identity of a teacher. If he killed him, his future would be ruined. If this were in the wild, Ling Feng would definitely kill him without even blinking. Teacher Li had already left, leaving Li Wu sitting on the ground with a look of horror on his face. His legs were still trembling. He didn't expect Ling Feng to be so strong that even his second uncle couldn't do anything to him. They were both A.rank awakened, but he was able to cultivate so quickly. Could it be that his clone could help him with his cultivation? This was unrealistic. Seeing Ling Feng walking towards him, Li Wu was not willing to be passive and wanted to talk back. In the end, before he could speak, he saw his hand reaching over. He subconsciously reached out his hand, thinking that Ling Feng wanted to reconcile with him and please him. In the end, Ling Feng bypassed his outstretched hand, grabbed his collar, and lifted him up. Then, he slapped himself 10 times. Li Wu was dumbfounded. "Watch your mouth in the future. Otherwise, I can't guarantee what will happen." Ling Feng's tone sounded like he was lecturing a child. Li Wu wanted to resist, but the image of Ling Feng beating up his second uncle just now kept replaying in his mind. He could only endure it and not dare to speak. The surrounding crowd was also extremely shocked. This is too powerful. He is clearly an A. Rank awakened like us. That's right. I don't think even S. Rank awakened are as powerful as him. Could it be that his talent has mutated, and his clones can also help in his cultivation? This is too abnormal. Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that if you didn't mention it. It's indeed possible. I'm so envious. Suddenly, a circle of red lights lit up at the gate of the mystery land, which attracted everyone's attention. They said excitedly, "The secret realm has opened. Quick, we can't waste any more time. We only have 5 hours." After saying that, everyone rushed towards the entrance, and Ling Feng followed the crowd. After entering the secret realm, the scenery around him kept changing. In the blink of an eye, Ling Feng found himself standing on the peak of a mountain, and under his feet was a platform made of stone. There were futons placed on the stone platform. However, when he entered, there were already people sitting on the futons and cultivating. There were many futons, so there was no need to worry about not having enough. Ling Feng casually found a corner and sat there. Everyone's gaze turned towards Ling Feng, but he didn't care. He only smiled and shook his head. Then, he collected his emotions and focused on his cultivation. If that teacher Li was able to start him off, then it would be good if he was expelled. They all yearned for a university, but that didn't mean that Ling Feng also yearned for a university. He had the system, so he didn't really need a lot of resources. Take this spirit-sensing mystic realm, for example. So many people were fighting to enter because they only had one chance to improve their skill perception, but he was different. He had the system, so he only needed to kill to improve himself. Once he had reached a certain level of combat strength, he would kill all of his enemies one by one. With his speed of leveling up, this day would not be long. Ling Feng closed his eyes and entered a state of meditation. As soon as he entered this state, Ling Feng felt as if his thoughts were gushing out like a spring. Countless insights gushed out like a fountain, and countless thoughts appeared in his mind. Ling Feng's brain was working at twice the speed as fast as usual on how to use skills, their strengths, weaknesses, and how to improve them. This place's ability to increase one's comprehension was too strong. He subconsciously summoned his clone and let it surround him to cultivate. His actions were also seen by the others, and they all sighed. As expected, his clone can also cultivate. No wonder he improved so quickly. Yeah, it's really infuriating to compare people. Unfortunately, they did not know that clones could not help in cultivation. Instead, they had other more important functions, which were to gain knowledge, increase combat experience, and increase skill experience. An hour later, Ling Feng retrieved his clone. Countless pieces of information poured into his mind. He absorbed the most valuable information. At this moment, he absorbed all the insights regarding the transformation of various skills. Arg. My skill proficiency has increased by a lot, and my combat power has also become stronger. That's right. I feel like my body is full of energy. I'm going to hunt the alien races. Chapter 24. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. I'll get justice for you. In the principal's office, an old man was sitting in the main seat. In front of him was a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was Teacher Li. His expressions were somewhat angry. He slammed his hands on the table and roared, "That brat is really too despicable. Not only did he bully his classmates, he even dared to fight with a teacher. Such an unorganized and undisciplined student should not be allowed to stay in school." The old man was the principal. When he heard Teacher Li's words, he took a sip of tea and frowned. There are actually students like that. What's his name? How dare he provoke Teacher Li? Ling Feng, I don't think you've heard of this name before. He's in the same class as Su Ranran. I remember that there is only one A. Rank awakened in their class. I think his name is Li Wu. Why have I never heard of this name? The principal was a little confused and put the teacup aside. This Ling Feng is another student. He struck some luck transforming from B. rank to A. rank. He's very arrogant and has an extremely bad character. If he's allowed to grow, it'll be difficult for our human race to have a future. Teacher Li wiped his tears as he spoke. Those who didn't know would think that he had suffered a lot, as if he was only doing it for the school and the human race. The principal sat there in deep thought, thinking about how to resolve this matter. He then shouted, "Leave this matter to me." Then, the principal looked at the door and shouted, "Secretary Qian." Immediately after, an extremely blossomed and beautiful figure walked in. She was dressed in professional attire and left behind a fragrant scent wherever she passed. "I'm here." Teacher Li glanced at Secretary Qian's thigh as if she had some thoughts in his mind. However, Secretary Qian didn't care and didn't even look at Teacher Li. He was just a useless B. rank awakened, and he was already middle-aged, unworthy of his attention. Investigate the ins and outs of this matter. We can't let our school's teachers be disappointed. The principal's tone was very serious. Secretary Qian nodded slightly and left the office. "All right, Teacher Li, if there's nothing else, you can leave." I'm Ying. Before Teacher Li could finish his sentence, he was pushed away by a gentle breeze. He could not even resist. After he left, the principal rubbed his temples and muttered to himself sarcastically, "As a teacher, you can't even defeat your student. You even came to complain to me. You've really lost the face of the Li family." To be honest, if it weren't for the Li family, the principal would not even meet Teacher Li. Secretary Qian was very efficient. After a while, she came in. "Principal, I've already investigated the matter you gave me." "Go ahead." "It's like this." After entering the high-level secret realm building, Li Wu saw Ling Feng sitting there and publicly scolded him for being a low-level awakened. He even wanted to kick him out. Ling Feng couldn't hold back the anger in his heart and slapped Li Wu. Teacher Li happened to be on duty and saw his nephew being beaten. He wanted to step out and capture Ling Feng, but he didn't expect to be beaten up. Upon hearing this, the principal's face was filled with shock. "So you're saying that he wanted his nephew to stand up for him but was defeated by Ling Feng? He's so angry that he wants to use me to expel Ling Feng." The principal really has a pair of sharp eyes. The principal smiled but didn't say anything. Secretary Qian then asked, "How does the principal plan to deal with this matter?" If he were to fire Ling Feng, he would naturally be gossiped about, and the student would bear a grudge against him. If he were to protect Ling Feng, the Li family would also keep an eye on him. It was not wise to offend the Li family for the sake of an A. rank awakened and damage his own interests. "Have you checked Ling Feng's information?" The principal looked at Secretary Qian. "I have." "Tell me." "Ling Feng, initial talent clone, B. rank, currently transformed into A. rank, can split into 10 clones and can merge the 10 clones into the main body, turning into an angry Buddha statue. Combat strength above tier 2 after the transformation has the strength of an ordinary tier 3. The reason why he was able to defeat Teacher Li was because of his transformation. Upon hearing this, the principal's face showed a hint of surprise. This kid is really a genius. Su Ranran only broke through to tier 2 this morning, but he actually broke through to tier 2 even earlier. Yes, I'm guessing that his clone underwent a mutation during the transformation and could help his main body cultivate. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to cultivate so quickly. Secretary Qian said thoughtfully. "Yes, just as I thought." The principal also nodded. "Should I take care of this person?" Secretary Qian asked. The principal didn't say anything. He was lost in thought, weighing the pros and cons of this matter. Ling Feng was an A. rank awakened. Was it worth it to offend the Li family of Fantasy City for him? Perhaps it was not worth it. The principal shook his head and said, "To be able to transform from B. rank to A. rank, he has already exhausted most of his foundation. If he wants to transform his talent again, the probability is too low, so he is not worth paying attention to. Secretary Qian did not have any objections, but there was a trace of worry on his face. Then, do we need the school to come out and warn the Li family? After all, Ling Feng has offended the Li family, and they won't let this matter rest. Ling Feng is just a student, and they're attacking a student in school. Their behavior is a little reckless. The principal looked indifferent. He waved his hand and said, "There's no need for that. It's just a rank talent. It's not worth it for us to spend too much energy on him. We should focus our energy on training S.Rank Awakeners. Then, is the Li clan going to let them run wild?" Secretary Qian's voice was a little soft. She was very worried about Ling Feng's safety. However, she knew the character of the old man in front of her. It was impossible to persuade him. "Then what punishment will Ling Feng receive?" Secretary Qian asked. "Strip him of his A.Rank Awakened privilege. As for the Li family, go and talk to them personally. Remember not to be too aggressive." The principal pondered for a moment and then said, "Isn't this a little harsh?" Secretary Qian asked hesitantly. "You're trying to say that it's unfair to Ling Feng?" "I have no choice. This is how the world works. Besides, Ling Feng is not Su Ranran. I can only suffer for a while. I hope he can understand me. Go on." The principal sighed. Immediately after, an announcement appeared on the school's official website. Grade 12 student Ling Feng beat up Teacher Li, punishment letter. Due to the unruly act of beating Teacher Li in the middle of a storm, the school's punishment is as follows. Ling Feng's future resources as an A.Rank Awakened would be destroyed, and his chance to enter the Spirit.Sensing Mystic realm would be taken away. The announcement appeared on the school's official website, and everyone was informed of this news at first moment. It can't be. There's actually someone who's a newborn calf that's not afraid of the tiger and directly hit the teacher. Yeah, Teacher Li is a Tier 3 combatant. Even if his talent is only B.Rank, it's already very high. But it looks like Ling Feng won the punishment. But let's say it or not, this school is quite fair. These talented people should be disciplined. Previous poster, don't talk nonsense. I saw it with my own eyes. The fault isn't on Ling Feng. However, the message was deleted as soon as it was sent out. The account was also banned. When the person came back to his senses, he stomped his foot in anger. Hence, public opinion was one-sided, and everyone blamed Ling Feng for his mistakes. At the same time, Bai Xiaosa was having dinner with his friends at home. His watch beeped, and he subconsciously opened the public chat. After reading it, his eyes were filled with shock. As expected of my idol. He's simply too godly. What are you talking about? The others asked. Do you still remember that Ling Feng I told you about? The one who saved my life. Oh, I remember now. What happened to him? Today, he went to the Spirit.Sensing Mystic Realm building and gave Teacher Li a beating. Damn, a student beating up a teacher. He's too strong. Then, everyone turned on their wristwatches and checked the announcement. After reading it, they were a little confused. They looked at Bai Xiaosa and said, something's not right. Teacher Li is at least at the third step of cultivation. How could he be beaten by a student? And this school's punishment is really too unfair. That's right. Also, think about it. Why would a student hit a teacher? Isn't that just courting death? Unless the teacher bullied him and he couldn't take it anymore, then he would resist. I guess the teacher didn't expect Ling Feng to be so strong that he could defeat him. That's enough. Don't you guys know what the school is thinking? Don't look at the official website. Look at the forums outside. What's inside is the truth. After that, everyone opened the forum outside. There was no such thing as a ban on deleting posts in this forum, and the truth of the matter was revealed to everyone. I knew it. A student beating up a teacher for no reason would never be valid. So that's the truth. Should I say it or not? This Ling Feng is just too strong. That's right. Since he saved us back then, his character must be up to standard. It's obvious that the school's higher UPS have been bullying us. No, I can't stand it anymore. He once saved my life, so I can't stand by and do nothing now. I'm going to condemn my benefactor on the internet. Bai Xiaosa had naturally investigated this matter as well. There were teachers from the Bai family in the school, and he only found out the whole story after asking them. However, the teachers' replies to Bai Xiaosa were the same. Don't get involved. Naturally, Bai Xiaosa was unwilling to do so. He then contacted the S.Rank Awakened, who had been saved by Ling Feng, but they were unwilling to interfere either. Only two of them were willing to help. At this moment, a figure suddenly flashed through Bai Xiaosa's mind. Su Ranran. At the same time, Su Ranran was in the middle of cultivation when her watch suddenly beeped. She recovered from her cultivation state and was instantly furious when she saw the message on her watch. The power of lightning in his body even lost a bit of control, constantly leaking out. You saved my life yesterday. Today, I will seek justice for you. With that, Su Ranran left the house and headed for school with a cold face filled with anger. Chapter 25. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. You're biased, so I'll beat him up. At this moment, in the principal's office, an old man was sitting on a chair, his hand constantly stroking his beard, looking very flustered. He had not expected that he would stir up a hornet's nest by merely dealing with an A.Rank Awakened. Not only did Bai Xiaosa from the Bai family come to find him, but even Su Ranran, an SS.Rank Awakened, claiming that she would seek justice for Ling Feng. There were also two other S.Ranks. This was simply too troublesome. He never thought that so many of heaven's favored sons would all come for Ling Feng. He only knew that before Ling Feng's talent transformation, he only knew Su Ranran, and the two of them were only desk mates. However, he did not expect to know Bai Xiaosa and the other two S.Rank Awakened. The principal looked at Secretary Qian, but Secretary Qian did not seem to see this. He just looked out of the window, deep in thought. Ahem, the school has already investigated this matter, and the conclusion is not wrong. All of you are the hope of the future of mankind, so you should spend your time on cultivation. He didn't want to face this problem. No matter what he said, he would offend the Li family or Su Ranran, so the best way was to find a way to fool them. However, Bai Xiaosa would not listen to the principal's one-sided words. Principal, how do you explain the investigation document? As far as I know, you were the one who posted the announcement. If you investigated it, why did it turn out like this? Do you have anything to say? If it were anyone else, they naturally wouldn't dare to speak to the principal like that. However, as a member of the Bai family, Bai Xiaosa didn't have much fear of the principal. In addition, he was also an S.Rank with talent and background. Even the principal would not dare to do anything to him. In addition, there was an SS. Rank on the scene, so the principal did not dare to make a move. If Bai Xiaosa had come alone, he would naturally have hesitated. It was only with Su Ranran's company that he was given a shot in the arm. In the entire human race, S.Rank were not rare. The ones who could be called geniuses were SS.Rank awakeners, and only a few hundred people could awaken to SS.Rank every year. Moreover, Su Ranran was talented and had been accepted by the School of Elements, one of the top 10 schools, in advance. In other words, she had a university background. Even the principal would be wary of him. Therefore, the principal sat there and fell into deep thought. If he took back the announcement, although it would make these people feel at ease, it would be a loss of face for him. He would not do it. This matter can't be clearer. Don't be unreasonable. Your current task is to cultivate properly. Don't get involved in this kind of thing. Everyone saw the principal's attitude, and they were very disappointed. They did not expect the principal to be so perfunctory. The principal, who was usually so kind, was so biased toward the Lee family. Even if they ignored the fact, their hearts sank to the bottom. Su Ranran, who had been silent all this while, couldn't take it anymore. I just want justice. Is the principal not willing to give it to me? Her attitude made the principal fall into deep thought again. If no one stood up for Ling Feng, then this matter would soon be forgotten. If only Bai Xiaosa had stood up for him, he'd be able to find a way to muddle through. The key to the problem was that the person who stood up for them was Su Ranran, who was an SS. Rank awakened. An A. Rank would not pose a threat to him in the future, but it was not necessarily the case for SS. Ranked awakened. In fact, it was not too far away. Within 10 years, he would definitely be surpassed by Su Ranran. In summary, offending Su Ranran was not a wise choice. But what could he do? Was he supposed to take back the announcement? This wouldn't do. If he took it back, he would lose all his face. Su Ranran, stop messing around. You don't even know the ins and outs of this matter, or do you doubt the results of the school's investigation? You may leave. With that, a gentle wind pushed them out, making them unable to resist. They looked at the closed office door and had a lot to say, but they could only remain silent. I thought the principal was forced to do this, Bai Xiaosa said angrily. I didn't expect him to be so ignorant. I've misjudged him. Su Ranran, you're the strongest here. Ling Feng saved my life before. I'm not willing to go back just like this, one of them said. Yes, I think so too. I owe him a debt of gratitude. Now that he's in trouble, I can't just stand by and do nothing. Another person said. The core of the group was Su Ranran, not only because of her strength but also her status. In the city, no one dared to lay a hand on Su Ranran, because this was the privilege of an SS-level metahuman. She would be protected at all times, even by the system of the illusory city. Su Ranran stood there and thought about how Ling Feng was still cultivating in the spirit-sensing mystic realm and could not receive any information from the outside world. Knowing all of this, he must be very angry and in pain, right? At this thought, Su Ranran's heart ached for Ling Feng. Since the principal is not willing to give us justice and is biased towards the Li family, we will personally seek justice. After Bai Xiaosa heard this, he was a little confused and asked, what do we do? Just follow me, Su Ranran said indifferently. Where to? The back mountain, the advanced mystic realm building. At the same time, in the guardroom of the building, a middle-aged man was sitting on a chair with a satisfied look on his face. He kept shaking the wine glass in his hand, and his face was full of joy. The person beside him asked, what happened? You're so happy. Do you still need to say it? Of course, it's about that Ling Feng who received the punishment he deserved. That's right. He really doesn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth after offending Teacher Li. The people around helped Li Tsong say that. When Li Tsong heard that, the joy on his face became even thicker. Li Tsong's talent might not be the strongest, and he only had stage 3 combat strength when he was middle-aged. However, the Li family behind him was the most outstanding. Even the principal had to give him some face, all because of his backing. As for Ling Feng, he was an orphan and had no background. What could he use to compete with him? You are indeed stronger than me, but didn't I win in the end? This matter won't be over so easily. When you leave the city, I'll take your little life. Li Tsong thought to himself. At this moment, the door was suddenly kicked open. The intense sound caused the wine glass in Li Tsong's hand to fall to the ground. He flew into a rage and stood up, roaring, where did this bastard come from? How dare he interrupt me while I'm drinking? Su Ranran and the other 3 stood at the door and looked indifferently at Li Tsong, who was making a scene. Li Tsong squinted his eyes. When he saw that it was 4 students, he felt disdain and said calmly, "Oh, so you're students. Tell me your names, and I'll report it to the school truthfully. If you have anything to say, hurry up and say it." Su Ranran took a step forward and said coldly, "I'll beat you." Li Tsong was stunned. He thought that he had heard wrong. How did a few students dare to beat up a teacher? However, their next actions told Li Tsong that they were there to beat him up. Lightning flashed in the air. Li Tsong wanted to resist, but his body was numb. The next moment, Su Ranran grabbed Li Tsong's shoulder and threw him over hers. His face came into intimate contact with the ground. "You actually dared to hit a teacher. You're finished." Li Tsong stammered. However, these words didn't pose any threat to him. All kinds of violent attacks fell on his body. He wanted to raise his strength to resist, but he couldn't because his whole body was numb. After all, Su Ranran's thunderbolt was no joke. In addition, she was in a state of fury. If she hadn't restrained herself, everyone present would have been paralyzed by the thunderbolt. When the teachers at the side saw this scene, they retreated one after another, their eyes filled with shock. Who is this student? Why is she so fierce? That's right, even Ling Feng barely won, but this student can actually suppress him. I remember now. Isn't that Su Ranran, who has awakened her SS grade talent? Right. But why did she hit Li Kong? I don't understand. It's probably for Ling Feng's sake. After all, the two of them have been deskmates for 3 years. Their relationship must be very good. At that moment, Li Tsong was already delirious. He only knew that Su Ranran was holding his head and slamming it into the ground. Then, he lost consciousness. Seeing that Li Tsong had fainted, Su Ranran stopped attacking him. She picked him up and threw him to the side like he was trash. Then, she looked around and said coldly, "My name is Su Ranran. When Li Tsong wakes up, tell him not to let me see him again. Otherwise, I'll beat him up every time I see him." After that, she led everyone away. She came and left in a hurry. All the teachers were stunned and at a loss. Then, they were shocked. She's too strong. That's right. It's bad enough that he was beaten up by Ling Feng, but Su Ranran also beat him up. I feel so bad for Teacher Li. But this is also his fault. Who asked him to be so unscrupulous just because he has the Li family's background? This is great. We've raised the iron plate. Do you think the principal will punish Su Ranran? To put it bluntly, would the principal dare to do so? Su Ranran is an SS. Rank awakened and has been accepted by the Elemental College of the top 10 colleges. That's right. She's backed by a very powerful force. Because she was accepted in advance, the Academy will send guardians to protect her. They won't intervene unless it's a life and death situation. No wonder it's one of the top 10 academies. It's so powerful. After a while, the principal, who was sitting in his office, also received the news. He sat there helplessly as if he had been hollowed out. Was I wrong in this matter? Secretary Qian stood at the side and said respectfully, "You're not in the wrong. You just need to learn to bow your head to reality." The principal heard Secretary Qian's words and sighed. You're right. I can't punish Su Ranran. From a certain perspective, she's no longer a student of our school. Since she is helping Ling Feng, and Li Tsong is just an unimportant person in the Li family, I think it's better to make a new announcement after some careful consideration. You're right. Soon, a new announcement appeared on the school's official website. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Combat power increase, skill creation. On the school's official website, the old announcement had been removed and replaced with a new one. Notice. After careful investigation, the school has found that there was an error in the previous investigation. The error was caused by the secretary of the principal's office. the principal has already triggered the necessary trigger. We will now cancel the previous announcement and suspend Li Tsong's job. We will also apologize to the victim, Ling Feng. When everyone saw this announcement, they were all shocked. No way, the one-track-minded principal actually admitted defeat. This is really rare. You guys don't know about this, right? Let me tell you, Su Ranran brought her men and beat Li Tsong up. She even said that she would beat him up every time she saw him. To say or not to say, this is really too satisfying. The head is in a dilemma. But it's reasonable for the principal to do this. After all, he values profit the most. It's not a wise choice to offend Su Ranran. Indeed. If this matter were to blow up, the principal would be the one embarrassed. On the official website, everyone was in a heated discussion. At this moment, Li Tsong, who was lying in the hospital, naturally heard this news. Instantly, he was furious and spat out a mouthful of blood on the bed. He was actually suspended. He really regretted it now. He shouldn't have stood up for Li Wu in the first place. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been beaten up twice, and suspended. However, things had already happened. If he didn't vent his anger, he really couldn't calm down. Ling Feng, right. You're not bad. I'll remember you. This isn't over. Li Tsong gritted his teeth and said. In the principal's office. The principal sat there and said indifferently, let's just leave it at that. As for that Ling Feng, I don't want to hear any news about him in the future. Upon hearing this, Secretary Qian said hesitantly, Mr. Principal, don't you want to see him? He can be considered a genius. He's just a puny A. rank. He's only a little faster in his training. He's not a genius yet. Let's wait until he reaches S. rank. Upon hearing this, Secretary Qian was stunned. To be able to transform from B. rank to A. rank was already 1 in a million. If he were to transform again to S. rank, that would be too difficult. It wasn't that there hadn't been any in history. There had been, but the requirements were too harsh. At this moment, in the spirit sense mystic realm, Ling Feng didn't know what was going on outside. He was only focused on clearing dungeons and constantly gaining upgrade points. You have successfully killed a wolf, level +5, you have successfully killed a wild boar, level points +8. Wherever Ling Feng passed by, it was as if the god of death had passed by. All the alien races standing were killed and turned into upgrade points to be integrated into himself. Not only that, but the combat experience and skill proficiency of the clone were also constantly increasing. This feeling was very obvious. Compared to when he was in the wild, his speed was several times faster. Ling Feng also came to a conclusion. This place was truly a treasure trove. The only shortcoming was that this realm was really too small. By now, he had almost killed his way through. He really had some doubts. If this continued, would there be no more monsters? Because Ling Feng's clone had the strength of the early stage of the second level, in this secret realm, he could already do whatever he wanted. From the top of the mountain to the middle of the mountain, Ling Feng could already see the fog at the foot of the mountain. That should be the border of the secret realm. This secret realm was originally a mountain, and now that he had cleared half of the mountain, the number of alien races below had also decreased, not as dense as the monsters above. You have successfully killed a night spirit fox. You have gained 20 upgrade points. Yet another foreign being died there. Ling Feng could no longer see the foreign being with his naked eye. He sighed, there aren't many foreign races left in the secret realm. It's better to leave it at that for now. The time is almost up anyway. On the way back, Ling Feng checked the system interface and found that he had accumulated enough upgrade points to upgrade his combat strength. System, upgrade your combat strength. Upgrade is successful. Congratulations to user for reaching intermediate tier. Point 2. Immediately, Ling Feng felt his body warm up. Then, endless power appeared in his body, and his entire body became extremely powerful. He even felt that he could shatter the heavens with a single punch. Not bad. At least my combat strength has increased by 1 level. I didn't lose out. Ling Feng was very relaxed as he walked on the road. After a while, they reached the top of the mountain. There weren't many people on the top of the mountain because most had gone to kill monsters. However, they would definitely return empty-handed. This was because most of the alien races here had been killed by Ling Feng. However, there were still some remaining, so they could only pick up the leftovers. It was also at this moment that a figure suddenly appeared in front of Ling Feng. Li Wu. At this moment, Li Wu was glaring at Ling Feng like a tiger watching its prey. His eyes looked as if he wanted to give Ling Feng a good beating. However, Ling Feng didn't look Li Wu in the eye. Even though Li Wu was standing right in front of him, Ling Feng treated him as if he didn't exist. Li Wu felt ashamed and roared, "Ling Feng, you're in trouble. You've hit my second uncle, you'll be fired." Ling Feng, on the other hand, was completely unconcerned as he indifferently looked at Li Wu. "Oh. I don't know if you'll be fired or not, but I know that if you continue to be arrogant in front of me, I'll beat you up." After saying that, Ling Feng turned around and left. Li Wu could only grit his teeth and swallow his anger. He couldn't beat Ling Feng. Li Wu sat down and entered a state of cultivation. Ling Feng was also sitting in the corner. Seeing Li Wu's defeat, a smile appeared on his face. Then, he sat there and entered a state of cultivation. Countless insights and ideas appeared in his mind, gushing out like a fountain. Skills were obtained from skill crystals, manuals, and one's own body. Among them, the first 2 were much simpler than the latter. If one wanted to obtain a skill from oneself, one had to create it on their own. It could be said that it was difficult to reach the heavens, but once it was created, it was definitely not an ordinary item. This was because the skill that one created would completely suit its own body. It was similar to a talent that was awakened on one's own. However, if others were to know of Ling Feng's thoughts, they would definitely laugh out loud. A measly tier. 2 wanted to create his own skill. This was simply too funny. But Ling Feng didn't care about that, he only did what he wanted to do. The memories of his previous life kept pouring into his mind. Combined with his innate talent, countless thoughts flashed through his mind. Suddenly, Ling Feng caught on to one of the thoughts. A clone. Shadow clone. The Naruto's shadow clone that he had seen in his previous life appeared in Ling Feng's mind. Shadow clones had various attributes, such as water, earth, wood, and so on. However, not everyone in the Naruto world had a chakra, and the attributes of the chakra determined the attributes of the shadow clone. He did not have a chakra. Ling Feng fell into deep thought. As far as he knew, there were other clone-type skills in this world, but these skills were very precious, and he could not come into contact with them, so he did not know how far away the clone was. His clone was an innate skill and could be created with the energy in his body, similar to chakra in the Naruto world. Thinking up to this point, Ling Feng had another thought. If he could turn a part of his body's energy into an element, then use the cloning skill on top of it, wouldn't he create an elemental clone? Ling Feng felt as if something in his mind had suddenly opened up, and a large number of thoughts poured out. Since he had a fire attribute skill, he might be able to start with the fire clone. As for the fire clone, because it was made up of fire attributes, it was immune to fire damage and could double the damage of the fire-type skills it released. However, because of the restraint, it would also receive double damage from water and ice skills. Ling Feng's eyes lit up, and a fireball appeared in front of him. He could feel the energy in his body turn red at that moment, representing the flame energy, even though it only lasted for a short time. Once again, he used the flame-spurting skill. Unfortunately, he still did not fully understand the idea of energy attribute conversion. Perhaps this was the knowledge he had learned in university. Such an idea appeared in Ling Feng's mind, and then he temporarily gave up on creating an elemental avatar. Because he had not mastered the knowledge in that area, it would only be a waste of time to try. After the battle in the secret realm ended, he would go to the school library to check out the corresponding knowledge. After fully mastering the knowledge in that area, he should be able to try to use an elemental clone. Then, he would focus on learning other skills. Because of the secret realm, the speed of comprehension was multiplied, and Ling Feng's face was full of joy. It was also at this moment that a loud sound suddenly came from the sky. Everyone woke up from their cultivation state. Because it was their first time entering, Ling Feng did not know what had happened. The time limit of the mystic realm is up. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Holding skewers, almost becoming sworn brothers outside the advanced secret land building, in the main hall, the students swarmed out, and the hall that had been empty a moment ago was now filled with people. After everyone had come out, the door of the secret realm closed. Everyone stood in place, breathing in the air of the outside world. At the same time, they felt their own strength and were all excited. This is so profitable. Just 5 hours of cultivation is equivalent to 10 days of my cultivation. Yeah, but it's a pity. We only have one chance a year. If only we could come once a month. That's right, but that's wishful thinking. So many of us are going in, and will kill all the alien races in one go. We have to give them time to reproduce. Otherwise, what's the point of going in? To enjoy the scenery. That's true. 1 year is enough for the alien races to recover. Everyone continued to chat, while Ling Feng seemed out of place. He stood in a corner and walked out without saying a word, not wanting to attract any attention. On the other side, Li Wu was also walking out with his head lowered. His arrogance had completely disappeared. He came to the office on duty in the advanced secret realm building. He pushed the door open and looked around, but he didn't see his second uncle. He asked in confusion, "Where's my second uncle? Who is your second uncle?" Li Kong. Li Tsong was seriously injured by Su Ranran. He's also suspended because he framed Ling Feng. You must be Li Wu. Quickly go to the hospital and visit your second uncle. One of the teachers said. Upon hearing this, Li Wu was stunned for a moment. How could this be? I've only been in the mystic realm for 5 hours. Why do I feel like so many things have happened? Then, Li Wu turned on his watch, and a large number of messages entered his line of sight. After a while, he finally understood the ins and outs of this matter. Instantly, he seemed to have lost his soul, and his eyes were filled with confusion. How could this happen? This was a huge blow to him. It was as if the world was deliberately targeting him. Li Wu, who had never been beaten up by reality, began to doubt his life. At the same time, Ling Feng had just walked out of the building when he saw people looking at him and discussing him. He didn't even need to listen carefully to know what they were talking about. In a short while, he had sorted out the matter. So it was Su Ranran's men who helped me get justice. Thinking of this, Ling Feng's face revealed a sweet smile. At this moment, a hand suddenly landed on Ling Feng's shoulder. A gentle touch came from his shoulder, followed by a fragrant scent. Ling Feng turned around and saw that it was Su Ranran. It's out. Yeah, let's eat. What do you want to eat? Before Ling Feng could finish his sentence, Su Ranran had already pulled him outside. Outside, 3 people were standing there, waiting for the 2 of them. Out of the 3 of them, Ling Feng only knew by Xiaosa. The other 2 only looked familiar, but he didn't know their names. The 3 of them walked at the back, with Ling Feng and Su Ranran walking in front. This was the first time the 3 of them had seen Ling Feng like this, and they wanted to laugh. After all, this kind of thing was rare. In their hearts, Ling Feng had great strength and he had always been the one to make others suffer. This was the first time they saw him suffer a loss, so they naturally felt strange. Very quickly, they arrived at a restaurant. The exterior was very luxurious, and after entering the restaurant, they went straight to a private room. Everyone took their seats, but the main seat was left for Ling Feng. Su Ranran pressed him down and sat next to him. Ling Feng smiled and said, "So you've already booked the rooms?" That's right. It's to welcome you back. Of course, I've made full preparations. Bai Xiaosa said with a smile. Thank you so much, everyone. If it wasn't for you, I really don't know what would have happened. Ling Feng said gratefully. Su Ranran also smiled and said, now you know the importance of combat power, right? You have to work harder in your cultivation in the future, you hear me? Come with me to the wilderness tomorrow to hunt some foreign races. All right, he said. Ling Feng said with a smile. If it were someone else who said this, he might be a little disgusted, but for Su Ranran, his heart was very warm. After all, this was a serious matter, and Su Ranran had even offended the principal for his sake. Although Ling Feng did not say it out loud, he would remember this favor in his heart. As for the other people, they only helped because they had saved his life. However, Ling Feng remembered this favor in his heart. Since he was willing to help, it meant that he was a person who would repay the kindness. He was worthy of a deep friendship and his character was not bad. Therefore, Ling Feng's tone towards them was also very gentle. After all, they had saved him, and he had the intention to make friends with them. If it was yesterday, Ling Feng would naturally not be willing to pay attention to this group of people. This was because the existence of others was not particularly important to him. He only had eyes for Su Ranran. However, it was different today. Ling Feng was touched and raised his glass, all your words are in the wine, cheers. Nobody said anything. They just raised their glasses and shouted, cheers. There wasn't much trouble between men. If there was something, then drinking would do. Ling Feng had a deep understanding when it came to this. A few of them were tipsy and stood up with their arms around each other. They were still holding the wine glasses that had only the bottom left in their hands as they spoke leisurely as if they were blood brothers. Su Ranran, on the other hand, was different. Because he had a gift for lightning, the power of lightning had already tempered her entire body, which also led to her not getting drunk even after 1,000 cups. After drinking so much, she still sat there and smiled at them as if nothing had happened. Then, the four of them put down the wine glasses in their hands, each picked up a skewer, clenched their hands, faced the sky, and bowed. Today, the four of us will become brothers of the opposite sex. I'm Ling Feng, big brother. Ling Feng said, a little drunk. I, Bai Xiaosa, second brother. Bai Xiaosa's face turned red. I'm Feng Busi, third brother. Feng Busi was thin and had a cold look on his face. However, his head was tilted at this time, and he looked like he had drunk too much. I'm Zhu Pei, fourth brother. A chubby young man was leaning on the table with his eyes closed, as if he could fall asleep at any time. I don't ask to be born on the same day and year. But I ask for the same year and day to rile up. Before he could finish, the few of them burped in unison, then fell to the ground with a plop. Some fell on the chairs, and some fell on the ground. Su Ranran laughed out loud when she saw the group of people. Then, she looked at them with surprise in her eyes. You fell asleep halfway through the ceremony. It's really fate. I hope that you can complete this unfinished ceremony one day. Alas, why did you drink so much? You even need me to send you back. As he spoke, the Thunderlord's shadow appeared behind Su Ranran. However, this time, the shadow was much clearer than the last time. It opened its eyes and gently waved its right hand. For long snake-like lightning bolts wrapped around the waists of the four people, and they floated in the air. She walked out of the private room just like that. When the waiter saw this scene, he cried out in surprise. However, when he saw the person's face, he heaved a sigh of relief. He guessed that it was Su Ranran. Tomorrow, Bai Xiaosha will come to pay the bill. Su Ranran said to the waiter and left. Only the dumbfounded waiter was left. Then, the waiter came back to his senses and quickly said, "Arg. All right. I'll put it on Mr. Bai Xiaosha's tab." Su Ranran was very fast. Other than Ling Feng, the three of them quickly sent her back. Finally, they arrived at Ling Feng's house. After finding the key on Ling Feng, they opened the door and walked in. She gently placed him on the bed and looked at Ling Feng's sleeping face. Her cheeks were flushed. "Have a good sleep. We still have to go out of the city to hunt for alien races tomorrow." Su Ranran lowered her head and kissed Ling Feng's forehead. Her neck turned red and she quickly turned around to leave. After he left, Ling Feng sat up in a daze. He didn't care what he was holding in his hand and raised it up. "Ha! We're not going home drunk tonight." After that, he fell back asleep. The next morning, Ling Feng woke up and patted his heavy head. After washing up, he sat there and recalled the events at the wine table yesterday. Drinking is such a waste of time. It's too dangerous. After all, he had just offended the Li family and had drunk so much. If something were to happen, who could he go to for regret? It's a good thing that Su Ranran is here. Otherwise, it would have been dangerous. Then, Ling Feng thought of how they almost became sworn brothers yesterday and felt extremely embarrassed. "I'm really good. I almost became sworn brothers, and I did it with a skewer. This is ridiculous." There were a few people who had not successfully become sworn brothers. After all, this was the first time they had met. If they had become sworn brothers, he really did not know how to clean up the mess. However, it wasn't like they didn't gain anything. At least their relationship had gotten closer. This could be considered a blessing in the midst of misfortune. Then, his watch rang. He picked it up and saw that it was a message from Su Ranran. "When you see this news, come to the Awakened Guild immediately." Only then did Ling Feng remember that he had promised Su Ranran yesterday that they would hunt the foreign races together outside the city today. Roger. He quickly stood up and walked towards the Awakened Guild. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Combat Strength Assessment. After a short while, Ling Feng saw the Awakened Guild appear in his line of sight. It was a tall building in the shape of a tower. When counted carefully, it had a total of 9 floors, representing a 9th rank combat power. At the entrance, there were 2 very powerful stone lions guarding it. When others saw this, they were in awe. There were also 2 security guards standing next to each of the stone lions. They looked around vigilantly, and if they found anyone out of place, they would quickly step forward to suppress them. In front of a stone lion, a slim and elegant girl stood there. She looked left and right from time to time as if waiting for someone. Ling Feng had also arrived in front of the stone lion. The young girl also noticed his arrival and quickly waved her hand. "Hey, I'm over here." Hearing that, Ling Feng looked over as well. A smile appeared on his face as he ran towards Su Ranran. "Why did you wake up so late?" Su Ranran's tone sounded like a complaint. "Well, I'm not late," Ling Feng laughed. "It's a good thing you're not. Otherwise, the consequences would be very serious." Su Ranran said with a smile. "What consequences?" Ling Feng asked curiously. "I'll be angry." Su Ranran pouted. "I see. I'm so scared." Ling Feng pretended to be afraid, and Su Ranran lightly patted Ling Feng's arm and said, "You're so annoying." The two chatted as they walked towards the entrance of the Awakened Guild. A security guard reached out to stop the two of them, his expression very serious. "Please show your identity card." The two stopped chatting and took out their identity cards. After the security guard took them and scanned them, he returned them to them. Test passed. Third high school student, Ling Feng. You passed the test. Su Ranran, a student of the third high school. Please come in. The security guard's face showed a hint of respect. This was Ling Feng's first time entering the Guild of Awakened Ones. Although he had looked up relevant information on the internet and seen many photos, it was still quite shocking to experience it in person. The first thing that was shown was the high-definition screen in the middle of the drill. The screen was very large, and it was filled with mission information. Many people stood there, looking for a mission that was suitable for them. Su Ranran saw that Ling Feng's eyes were filled with confusion and smiled. This is the mission hall. As for the big screen, it shows all kinds of missions in real time. It is also the place where many adventurers accept missions. Hearing this, Ling Feng came back to his senses and asked, "Are we also here to accept the mission?" "That's right, but you have to test your combat power first. Only after you pass can you become an adventurer and take on missions. Follow me, we'll go to the second floor first." As she spoke, Su Ranran walked in front and led the way. Ling Feng followed closely behind, his eyes constantly looking around curiously. "Oh, right, have you tested your combat strength?" Ling Feng asked as if he suddenly thought of something. "Yes. I tested my combat strength yesterday." After saying that, Ling Feng finally reacted. No wonder Su Ranran was so familiar with this place. She was here yesterday. No wonder. The second floor was very empty. Compared to the mission hall on the first floor, it was a world of difference. Su Ranran stood there. Just as Ling Feng was about to ask her a question, a person who looked like a waiter came over. "This is the place to test your Tier .2 combat strength. Please enter this room to test your combat strength. As long as you pass the test, you will be a Tier .2 awakened. At the same time, we will also grant you the identity of an adventurer. You can use this identity to accept missions in the hall on the first floor." Ling Feng nodded and walked into the room. As soon as he entered, the door was tightly shut. Then, a series of system notifications rang in his ear. The Tier 2 combat robot is about to enter the stage. Please be prepared. If you can defeat it, you will pass the test. The time limit is 30 minutes. The lower level awakened test was conducted through robots. Only for the higher level awakened test would the robots fail. Hence, the test would be replaced by living creatures. Then, the side door opened, and a black robot holding a shield in both hands walked in. Ling Feng didn't hesitate. 10 clones quickly appeared and split into 2 groups to surround the robot. As the clones had experienced many battles, their cooperation had become more and more tacit, and they had rich combat experience. But very quickly, the clone adjusted its tactics. Since attacking the lower half of the body was no longer effective, they changed to attacking the eyes, throat, and other fatal parts. Energy slash. Ling Feng ordered. The clones did not hesitate and released their energy slashes at the same time. Instantly, 10 energy slashes from different directions flew toward the robot. If one were to look closely, one would be able to discover that the color of the energy slash was much darker than the previous one. Although the size did not change much, the color was darker, so the attack power was also stronger. This was because Ling Feng had improved this skill in the spirit sense mystic realm. Although it didn't transform, its power still increased by 30%. The robot's reaction was also very fast. It raised its shield quickly and blocked all the energy slashes. However, because it was only a Type 2 combatant, the shield was broken after blocking them. The robot was only a Tier 2 combatant, and facing 10 Tier 2 clones, it was naturally a little weak. Very soon, the robot was not able to follow its heart. Ling Feng seized the opportunity and quickly gave the order to close in. The clone did not hesitate. Ignoring the robot's counterattack, it locked its limbs tightly. The robot could not move for a short time. The rest of the clones quickly unleashed their skills, attacking the robot's head. Energy slash. Fire spray. Dozens of attacks landed on the robot's head. Even with its steadfast defense, it failed to withstand such a powerful attack. The head fell to the ground. Ling Feng didn't know how to pass the test. Just as he was about to continue his attack, he heard a notification sound in his ear. Congratulations on passing the Tier 2 combat strength test. Identity card has been issued. Please take a look. Ling Feng then turned on his watch and saw that his personal information had indeed changed. He had changed from a Tier 0 awakened to a Tier 2 awakened. There were 3 more words below it. An adventurer. The door has been opened. Please leave. After that, the door opened. Ling Feng did not stay any longer and left the room immediately. He happened to see Su Ranran standing there. Let's go and accept the mission. Ling Feng had only been inside for 5 minutes, but Su Ranran did not find it strange at all. She had seen Ling Feng's abilities before. The two of them arrived at the mission hall. This time, they stood there like the others and looked at the big screen, looking for a mission that suited them. The quests kept refreshing because some of them had been taken away, so they naturally disappeared. Some of the missions had generous rewards, with an urgent one marked at the front. Ling Feng wanted to take it, but he was too weak to complete it. There were also a few simple missions, but the rewards were too small, so Ling Feng ignored them. Mission: 3 Frost Wolves. Reward: 5,000 star coins. Asterisk requirement: Tier 1 Awakened, Mission. 2 Ice Grass. Reward: 3,000 star coins. Asterisk requirement: Tier 1 Awakened, Mission. A piece of thunderstruck wood. Reward: 50,000 star coins. Asterisk requirement: Tier 3 Awakened. These missions were either too difficult or had too few rewards. Ling Feng really didn't want to accept them. Just as he was feeling extremely disappointed and felt that there were no missions to accept, a mission suddenly appeared. Chapter 29. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Killing Monsters, Leveling Up, Part 1, Mission. Collect the wings of the silver, winged rabbit, no limit. Reward: a pair of silver wings cost 500 star coins. Asterisk requirement: Tier 2 Awakened or above. Ling Feng had also heard about the silver-winged rabbit race. It had a combat strength of Tier 1 and lived in the Star Beast Forest. It had a pair of silver and transparent wings, and there was a special material in its wings, hence its name. The medicine it was refined into was also known as the silver-winged rabbit. It was a precious medicinal material that could improve the body. However, the rabbit was cunning by nature. No matter where it was, it could dig holes. Therefore, it did not only dig underground but also in all kinds of places. They could also fly, so it was very difficult to catch them. Hence, the silver wings of these rabbits had always been in short supply. This wasn't the only reason why Ling Feng wanted this mission. The main reason was to be able to fight monsters in the Star Beast Forest because it was located about 20 miles southeast of Fantasy City. The forest area was very large, and there were countless alien races in it. Medicinal herbs were everywhere, and Ling Feng had wanted to go there to level up a long time ago. However, his strength was too low, so he had never gone. And now was a good opportunity. Su Ranran, what do you think of this mission? Ling Feng pointed at the mission and asked. Su Ranran frowned slightly, but when she saw Ling Feng's yearning expression, she smiled and nodded. Alright, this one it is then. After that, the two of them accepted the mission. There was no limit to the number of people who could accept the mission. After the mission was accepted, it would not disappear from the big screen. Thus, Su Ranran also accepted the mission after him. Wait for me here for a while. I'm going to buy some weapons. I'll be back soon. Ling Feng said as he looked at Su Ranran. All right. Su Ranran stood there. Ling Feng jogged out of the awakened guild and arrived at the weapon shop. At this time, the owner of the weapon store was reading a book in boredom. Seeing Ling Feng come, he put down the book and said with a smile, "It's you again, kid. What kind of weapon do you want to buy this time?" "Give me 8 tang blades," Ling Feng quickly said. The boss was stunned for a moment, then he took out 8 tang swords and handed them to Ling Feng. Without asking anything, he smiled and said, "Here you go, 80,000 yuan in total." Ling Feng didn't continue speaking. He took the knife and took out 80,000 yuan to hand to the boss. He slung the knife on his back and left the weapon store. The boss sat there, stroking his beard, looking at Ling Feng's back as he left. A smile appeared on his face. "You're really something, kid. You've been in the limelight these few days. I'm looking forward to it. It's interesting." Very quickly, Ling Feng returned to the Awakens Guild. Su Ranran was still standing there waiting for him. Su Ranran noticed the weapons on Ling Feng's back and asked worriedly, "Are you tired?" "I'm not tired. It's not early anymore. Let's hurry up and go." Ling Feng shook his head and said. Su Ranran didn't say anything else. She nodded and said, "But when you get there, you have to be careful. Don't force yourself, understand?" All right. Don't worry, I'll definitely play it safe," Ling Feng said with a smile. Hearing this, Su Ranran was relieved. Then, the two of them walked toward the Star-Beast forest. As they were both Tier 2 awakened, they were very fast. They reached the forest in just 10 minutes. Behind him was a boundless grassland, and in front of him was a dense primitive forest. However, there was a winding path in the primitive forest in front of them. It seemed to have been stepped out by adventurers, and there was no end in sight. However, looking at this path, there was an inexplicable sense of oppression in their hearts. "Let's go in." "All right." Then, Su Ranran took out a silver-white longsword from her back and held it tightly in her hand. Her eyes were constantly observing her surroundings. Ling Feng also summoned his doppelganger and had it scout the way in front. After taking the Tang Dao from Ling Feng's back, his doppelganger walked in front. Su Ranran and Ling Feng walked behind, constantly on guard for the viewing pleasure. Suddenly, the sounds of an intense battle reached their ears. The two of them looked at each other and quickly headed in the direction of the fight. It didn't take long for them to arrive at the scene. However, Su Ranran couldn't believe what she was seeing. Ling Feng's clone was fighting with the silver-winged rabbits, or rather, the clone had killed 3 silver-winged rabbits with 3 slaps. The violent and bloody scene stunned Su Ranran. "Ling Feng, are you really okay? Aren't the clones a little too strong?" Su Ranran could not believe it. Even though Ling Feng had saved her life before, Su Ranran still could not believe what was happening before her eyes. She did not expect Ling Feng's clone to be so powerful. Even though it was only a Tier 1 alien, and Su Ranran could kill it with a few slaps, it was only a clone. If the clone was already so strong, didn't that mean the main body was even stronger? A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be treated with new eyes. You should know this principle, right? But you'll get used to it. There will be many more times that I'll surprise you in the future. Upon hearing this, Su Ranran seemed to have thought of something. She stared at Ling Feng carefully. He noticed her gaze and looked back. However, when their eyes met, Su Ranran suddenly blushed and lowered her head. Chapter 30. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Killing Monsters, Leveling Up, Part 2. What are you looking at me for? Ling Feng asked. It's fine if you don't have Ching Ching. Quickly put away the silver wings. Su Ranran said hurriedly. Oh, all right. You can stand aside first. Leave this to me. Su Ranran's heart warmed when she heard this. Is he showing concern for me? He was so shy. Clone, go and pack up. Ling Feng said to his clone at the side. This kind of thing could be left to his clone to do. In any case, it was not a big deal. He could just rest at the side. Su Ranran looked at the few clones that Ling Feng had created. For some reason, she felt an inexplicable sense of loss. Could it be that she was overthinking things? That even she herself didn't know what was wrong with her now. Why did she, who was usually very casual and indifferent, become so worried about personal gains and losses? Keeping his silver wings, Ling Feng continued, all right, let's continue. The two continued to move forward. Suddenly, a strong roar entered their ears. They listened carefully and realized that it was the howl of a wolf. They immediately gave the order to number 1. He asked him to bring his 4 clones to see what was going on. Ling Feng saw a pack of frost wolves surrounding a flame tiger. What's going on in front? Su Ranran asked, puzzled. There are about 30 Tier 1 frost wolves surrounding a Tier 2 flame tiger. It looks like the flame tiger is at a disadvantage and can't hold on much longer, Ling Feng thought for a moment and said. Is that so? What do you plan to do? The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Leave this to me. Your Thunderlord is too powerful. If you encounter a troublesome matter, you can make your move. Hearing this, Su Ranran immediately raised her head and patted Ling Feng's shoulder. Don't worry. Then my little life is in your hands. Ling Feng said with a smile. You're talkative again. Su Ranran turned her head away. Now. Ling Feng's eyes narrowed, and his clone quickly rushed over. The flames on the battlefield were on the verge of death. He looked around covetously. The number of ice wolves had also been reduced to 10. If he did not attack now, then when should he? The 10 avatars attacked with the speed of lightning. The non-humans who were exhausted from both sides were shocked. Where did these 10 come from? It was a piece of cake for the 10 Tier 2 clones to attack the 10 exhausted frost wolves. In just a short while, the wolves were all killed. It was a simple 600 upgrade points, this was simply too comfortable. Before Ling Feng could celebrate, he heard a loud noise not far away. Su Ranran and Ling Feng's attention was drawn to the scene, and they quickly sent number 1 over to investigate what was going on. Through the vision of the first clone, Ling Feng saw an extremely huge rabbit charging around. Everywhere it passed, things became a mess. What happened? Su Ranran couldn't see what was going on over there, so she could only ask Ling Feng. Let's talk while we walk. Ling Feng walked in the direction of the huge rabbit. I found a silver-winged rabbit king. It's over 5 meters tall, and it's very powerful. I think it's about to break through to the 3rd rank. Don't do anything later. Just watch from the side. I'll let you see the power of your big sister. Su Ranran said, patting her chest. Ling Feng nodded his head in agreement. Then, the two of them went to the front of the Rabbit King. The Rabbit King was surrounded by Ling Feng's 10 clones. Checking Rabbit King's attributes. 10 upgrade points are required. Do you want to check? Yes. Immediately after, the Rabbit King's attributes appeared in front of Ling Feng. Combat Strength. Quasi, Tier 3, Skills. Silver Wing Slash, Storm Breath, Sharp Claw, Stomp. After reading this, Ling Feng heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it wasn't particularly strong and could be killed. The rabbit monarch's eyes were crimson red, and a blue storm surrounded its body as if it would be launched at the next moment. It stared at the clones surrounding it, its eyes filled with rage. Energy Slash. Ling Feng said indifferently. Following that, the 10 clones all used their energy slashes. 10 energy slashes flew out rapidly and slashed at the silver-winged Rabbit King. The rabbit was no saint either. With a loud roar, it spread its wings, and silver energy appeared around it. Silver Wing Slash. Immediately, the silver energy quickly fused together and turned into two 3-meter-long silver energy blades, slashing out from the Rabbit King's wings. The 10 energy slashes collided with the 2 silver wing slashes, producing a loud collision sound. However, Ling Feng's attack was still more powerful, and the 2 silver wing slashes only offset 7 energy slashes. 3 energy slashes flew towards the Rabbit King, but were blocked by the storm around it. You can leave, I'll do it. Su Ranran took a step forward. Immediately after, her body was enveloped by the power of lightning. Ling Feng obediently took a step back. It wasn't that he didn't have a way to deal with the Rabbit King, but it would take some time. He could also use this opportunity to see the combat power of an SS.rank talent. Su Ranran was currently suspended in midair. Her body was wrapped in the power of lightning, and her long hair was standing on end. She looked like a goddess of lightning. Thunderlord Spear. Su Ranran slowly spat out these 3 words. More than a dozen spears made of lightning appeared around her, and bolts of lightning jumped on them. Attack! Su Ranran's voice had just fallen when the dozen or so spears shot out like arrows from a bow, piercing towards the silver-winged Rabbit King. Ling Feng did not completely watch the show, controlling 10 clones to block the rabbit's path. The Rabbit King would not allow himself to be captured without a fight. It could feel that if it were to receive this attack, its life would be in danger. It immediately used all its skills. He wanted to block this attack. Unfortunately, that was not the case. No matter how hard the Rabbit King tried to resist, the spear of Thunderlord still managed to pierce its body. A numbing sensation came over the Rabbit King as it fell to the ground, not moving an inch. Seeing this, Ling Feng quickly controlled his clone to charge forward, subduing the silver-winged Rabbit King that was preparing to fight back before its death. He then filled the space around it with heart fire. A huge Thunderlord spear descended from the sky and pierced through the Rabbit King. Ling Feng quickly split his body in the air and swung his Tang blade down. Congratulations on killing the silver-winged Rabbit King. Level points plus 400. With the Rabbit King taken care of, there weren't too many troublesome foreign races in the surrounding area. The 2 of them began to kill without any restraint. Moreover, with the help of the clone, everything went smoothly. Su Ranran was more skilled, and Ling Feng's level points were constantly increasing. As dusk approached, the 2 of them had already killed more than 100 silver-winged rabbits. If they counted the other alien races, there were already thousands. Ling Feng's level points had reached a number that he had never reached before. There were as many as 100,000. Ling Feng was overjoyed. He had never seen so many upgrade points before. I have enough upgrade points. Do you want to upgrade your talent?